Whispering Pines was a small town nestled among dense pines and rolling hills in the Appalachian region. The kind of place where everyone knows their neighbor, and stories from long ago are orders of daily conversation. But among these stories, one name was always spoken in hushed tones, especially after dusk: the ghost of Whispering Pines. They say it started many decades ago, back in the 1930s, during a hard winter. The Great Depression weighed heavy, and in Whispering Pines, hope was scarce. Folks eked out living from logging, farms, and small jobs. Snow piled high, roads were barely passable, and at night, the wind that blew through the trees sounds like whispering voices carried over ice and snow. It was in such a winter that the story of Elias Harper became legend. Elias was a young man, just in his early 20s, strong, with hands calloused from axing wood and hauling logs. He lived alone in a remote cabin on the outskirts of town, down an old logging road and across a frozen creek. Every winter he would make his supply run into town, bringing food and goods back to his cabin to survive until spring. But one winter, the snow came earlier than expected, and a fierce blizzard trapped him just as he was returning from town. The road was blocked. The creek bridge was washed out. He sheltered in a small shed left behind by old lumberjacks, waiting for the storm to pass. Days passed. The wind howled so loud the shed shook. Food run. Lou. Elias, desperate, bundled his coat tight and made a decision: to try to cross through the deep woods to reach a neighbor's house for help. He set out at dusk. Light was fading, snow knee-deep in parts. The forest seemed alive, shadows moving, branches cracking under unseen feet. Elias heard whispering soft, almost singing. He shook his head. Just the wind, he muttered to himself. But the whispering grew louder, shaped into words, though he couldn't make them out. Suddenly, he saw a figure, a woman, pale, standing among the pines, her hair matted with snow, dress torn. She seemed to float, or glide. No footprints in the fresh snow around her. Her eyes hollow, sat fixed on Elias. He froze. The wind dropped. The whispers stopped. Then, she lifted one arm, beckoned him closer with a twisted finger. Fear gripped him, but something compelled him forward. He stumbled. She spoke, voice like crackling ice. "Help me. Bring me home." Elias, mind racing, asked, "Who are you?" No answer, just a howl that sounded like the wind tearing at trees. And then the figure flickered and vanished in the forest gloom. Elias stood alone, heart pounding. Unable. Tomoba. Night closed in. The cold crept in. By morning, Elias collapsed near the frozen creek bed, half frozen, his mind barely able to remember the way home. He was found by neighbors who had been searching, drawn by his absence. He babbled of the ghost, of a lady in the woods, whispering for him to follow, offering rescue, promising peace, but then vanishing. They carried him back. He survived, but something in Elias changed. He never spoke much after. When he did, he was quiet, haunted. He said the lady had died many years before in those woods. A logging accident, a group of men separated in the storm. One young woman, Anna Moore, cut off from her group, vanished. They searched. Only her scarf was found. They assumed she drowned in the creek or lost in wilderness. The snow must have hidden her body. But later, folks said her spirit had never found rest. Years passed, the winters came, and people reported similar sightings. Travelers crossing Whispering Pines Road after sundown said they felt an icy presence along the roadside. Some saw a woman in white on the roadside who would lift a hand, as though hitchhiking. Others saw her silhouette in the forest edges. Drivers felt phantom touches on their cars, or heard sobbing in the woods. Children awoke from nightmares, saying someone had called their names from outside. Some dared to investigate. A group of old-timers, including Elias before he grew too weak, decided to go into the woods one winter night, bringing lanterns, rifles, blankets. They followed the creek bed, past old logging camps now ruined, over broken bridges, through snow so deep it sucked at their boots. They found the shed, empty. Except for some food scraps, rusted cans, and the scarf to this day considered Anna's scarf hanging from a splintered post. They heard her whispering again. Faint, mournful, one of them called out, "Anna, why do you haunt us?" The answer came. Not in words, but in gusts of wind that rattled lanterns, in mist forming a pale shape among trees, and then retreating. The men fled. One slipped, fractured his wrist. Another saw two glowing points of light, like eyes, in the pines and fled, screaming. After that, no one dared spend the night in the woods during the heart of winter if snow was deep. Folks back in town told children to stay indoors at dusk. They warned those traveling to keep their eyes on the road, to never take the short cut through the woods. They said, "If you see a figure in white, don't stop. Don't call out. Just drive on." Elias milled about town, veering away from talk and lights. He died many years later in his cabin. His death, not dramatic, just quietly, in his sleep. After his passing, the sightings continued, more frequent perhaps, or more widely shared. Some say his spirit too lingers, because he never made peace. One winter, a young couple, Sarah and Marcus, new to the region, decided to test the stories. Coming back from town late, their car's headlights illuminated a woman standing on the edge of the forest, wearing a long white dress. Her hair matted, scarf wrapped around her neck in a familiar red checkered cloth. Sarah offered to stop. Marcus insisted to keep going. The road curved. The figure was no longer visible in the roadside. Relief. They saw no more. But when Marcus put his hand on the gear shift, he found red-checked scarf in his glove compartment. No memory of picking it up. Sarah swore she heard a whisper. Home. So the legend of the ghost of Whispering Pines became something people passed on. Stories around fireplaces, posts on internet forums, camp-out horror nights, road trip, cautionary tales. Some believe Anna wants someone to bring her home. Others think it's just grief, tragedy remade into myth. Even today, when winter winds blow through the pines and a traveler drives through those winding roads, they might catch a glimpse. A pale figure in white, a shape at the roadside, a whisper in their ear, calling their name. And once you hear your name in a voice like cracking branches, they say you are forever changed.